everybody. Welcome to Peaches and Power Bombs. I am your host, Majestic Marie, and I have a special guest with me. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, how are you? What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Am I supposed to call you Tom, or am I supposed to say, "Oh, Captain, my Captain"?
I'll let you get away with Tom, but if you ever feel the need to call me, "Oh Captain, my Captain," you are welcome to.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and apologize to everybody. My voice is not all there between allergies and screaming my head off on Friday night. I don't have much of a voice right now, so I apologize for that, but we'll get through it pretty well. And before we get started, we will go ahead and take care of some business. Like always, guys, make sure you like, share, subscribe, follow us on all the social media platforms. I usually have all of our information scrolling, but due to the hurricanes lately, I don't have a charity yet for the one that just hit Florida, but I do have a charity link for the Hurricane Helene relief effort. So I'll go ahead and put that up. And let's go ahead and let the Briscoe brothers get us all ready for the show.
Ain't no way, chick. Ain't ready. There ain't no way, man. Ain't ready. Ain't no way y'all could possibly be ready.
You can say you're ready as many times as you want.
That's all I'm gonna tell you.
Y'all boys ain't ready.
There's no way, man. Talking about they anxious. You hear him, chick?
Hey,
somebody losing sleep.
They losing sleep, baby. Man, I've been getting the best sleep of my life.
I've been snoring, baby. I've been snoring.
Dreaming about this ass.
That video never gets old. That's been our hype video for probably 2 years now, and I can't get over it.
I love it. Rest in peace, Jay.
Absolutely.
Love them boys. Love it. I can't wait to talk about the Mark Briscoe stuff too. That'll be fun. So
yeah that'll be a lot of fun. Our friend Brino is in the house, and he says hello.
What's up, Brino?
I love him. I got to meet him in June, so that was really nice.
Very cool.
So before we start on the pay-per-view, I do want to say that I was at SmackDown this past Friday. It was a full house, and I don't know, Tom, if you keep up with WWE at all, but it was a really great show. It kept some storylines moving. They put some things into our mind. There was a confrontation, of course, with Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes, and Randy Orton tried to get in the middle of that, and Kevin Owens wasn't too happy about it, and he kind of elbowed Randy in the face, and Randy turned him around and hit him back. And then, of course, later on in the night, Kevin Owens attacked Randy Orton outside of the buses. So what do you think of this storyline right now with Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, and Randy Orton?
I think it's a great dynamic. I did see that spot. They can't help but turn Kevin heel. It's just Kevin is as heel as I am white. I mean, it's just there's no you can't. You know what I mean? Like it's just who he is. It's just who he is. And you know, I've been watching from a distance that and the Xavier Woods stuff, and you know, they put Xavier's in black now, and I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? So just
right.
You know, but the thing is, the stuff that they do tends to be on the nose, and you can tend to see it from a mile away. But it works. The company's on fire, as you said off mic. I mean, they're cooking, and so people are here for it. So I can't. There's no reason to knock the storytelling. They're doing what they do. But yeah, I mean, I love Cody. That I've been reading, you know, wacky comments that Cody's someone said they're shoving Cody down our throats. I'm like, man, you guys never take a break from the hate. It is unreal. You know, haters must be exhausted. It must be the most tiring thing in the world to be a hater. You must never sleep. Do you know what I mean? So
exactly. I think Bryan Danielson said it best.
Fickle. They're fickle.
I mean, they like throughout the past year and a half or so before he won the title, they're like, "Oh, I'm so tired of Roman Reigns. He's been the champion for 4 years, and we want Cody." And they were like all out on this, and they were so mad when he didn't win the title to begin with. And then when he finally did, it's like they just turn around and turn on him I mean, I have to admit that his stuff in this past summer might not have been as interesting as it could have been or whatever, but that doesn't mean it was bad. It doesn't mean it was bad. It was still good. It just didn't have that personal feel to it that a lot of these storylines lately have been having.
Yeah, and the biggest story with the babyface chasing the championship is the babyface chasing the championship. That's usually the
Right.
biggest story. And the problem from the 50s to now, and I think it gets exponentially harder as the years go by. The problem will always be, yeah, but what happens when the babyface gets the bell? What happens when the dog actually catches the car? What happens then? And
Mhm.
that's the onus is on the booker of whatever company we're talking about to keep fans on the hook and to keep them interested. And that's not always the easiest thing in the world to do. Heels are a
No.
different story, as you know. Booking a
Right.
heels world champion is much different. But
And
yeah,
easier.
I see. Oh, yeah, to a certain degree. And it's because you can make mistakes. You can flub it when you want to, but the babyface has to be always on
Perfect.
his game. Yeah,
Right.
and one wrong move and the crowd will call him out on it every time.
Right. And I think if we're patient, I think this stuff with Kevin Owens is just going to be the first step because I think eventually we're going to get that Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes. At least I hope so. I've been dying for that story, whatever, that dynamic between those two,
Mhm.
um the mentor versus the student, the legend versus the up and comer. Well, he's not an up and comer. He's pretty much made it by now, but you know, Cody is kind of, he's getting up there almost on Randy's level. And, how is Randy going to take that? And is this all of his plan to just cause chaos in Kevin's, I mean, not in Kevin, in Cody's life. So I can't wait. I hope that happens.
Yeah, and it's coming. And goodness knows what all they'll include in the promos, what other companies they may or may not mention, or what they may or may not allude to. But I'll do you one better. Randy's a legend in WWE for sure. Toured the
Mm-hmm.
world, main event all over the planet. This guy, 100%. Cody Rhodes got the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. He had the run of Ring of Honor. He was in New Japan. He went
Mm-hmm.
and co-founded a company. When they said it couldn't be done.
Right.
He completely reinvented himself. Randy's just kind of, no disrespect to Randy. Randy's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of always Randy. But
Yeah.
Cody had to go find himself, and there was no guarantee, as everyone knows, that it was even going to work. He could have fell flat on his face, and the pro wrestling thing would have been an afterthought. He could have just went and been an actor. But you know, it, that those are all things that Cody could push back on if Randy gives him the line of, I brought you in this world, I'll take you out kind of thing. Without me, you're nothing. And I think Cody would have a pretty good case of saying, yeah, look, I appreciate the hand, but let's don't forget that when push came to shove, you threw me out and kicked me in the head. So
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm here for that too. I think it'd be a good rivalry.
Yeah. That's a good point. Cody could come back and say, I'm kind of, you're WWE and that's all you've ever been. I went out and I had to find myself and I had to become something that's greater than this company. And if they
Yeah.
shoved me out, if they pushed me out again, I could do it all over again and I would be just fine. Without the WWE, what would you be, Randy? So
You just wrote it. I think that's the way to go. I believe. You know what I mean? So yeah,
yeah,
I'd be here for that. I think it's gonna be
that
good.
would be a WrestleMania story, a WrestleMania match to me, but I don't know if they feel the same way. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah. Because you imagine if you're right, we're talking next year or the year after, and everybody's just getting older. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It'd be interesting,
yeah, yeah. Well, we'll have to see. And my goodness, is Jay Uso over like Rover?
Oh man. Yeah.
He,
It's a classic example. He and his brother both, this idea of, and we talked about it with Jericho and AEW, like how
mhm,
can I miss you if you never leave? Like
right.
just a little bit of time off, fresh coat of paint, that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, you're right.
Jay
Jay's,
Uso? Yeah,
well, no, yeah, like his brother too. Like just this idea of
yeah,
they were so in the spotlight with the family and all that stuff, and then like repetitive day after day, week after week. But man, there's absolutely something there with both those guys. You know what I mean? But yeah, to your point, Jay is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, at first when everything was happening, I was a little scared that he was only getting over because of Yeet, that was the only thing that everybody liked. But it stood the test of time because the important thing is yes, they get excited when you come out, but do they care that you win your match? And so when everybody was pulling for him to win that Intercontinental Championship against Braun Breaker, and it happened, and that place just went nuts, and everybody everywhere just went nuts and was so on behind him and on his side, I was like, okay, he is over, not just Yeet. So I was excited to see that.
Yeah, he's a main event guy. I think he's proven that. Again, I think he and his brother have come such a long way over the past few years. I mean, it's amazing to think about where they were at one point versus where they are now. And Jay is, the idea that one day Jay could be the man. I mean, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But every time he has reactions like he's been getting lately, I mean, it just makes the case for why one of these days he could potentially become the man.
I have a question for you, and then we'll move on a little bit more. Would you have ever guessed that this would have happened a couple years ago when somebody else was in charge? Do you think this would have ever happened if that person was still in charge?
It's hard to say. That other person has always been a fan of the Anoa'i family, obviously. And so maybe that Jay would have gotten, what he got, and maybe the family thing would still be going if the other guy was still running the show. But the thing about Hunter and the new regime, I guess if you want to call it that, there's still a lot of similarities there between him and the other guy, right? So, I take it with very cautious optimism that things continue to go on the uptick. I mean, business, of course, is on the uptick, but like creatively speaking, will things continue to go? Yeah, I mean, Hunter had that tough moment where he was put on the spot in the press conference, and he should have been. He should have been put on the spot. His answer was not awesome.
No, it wasn't.
He got called out for it, as well he should. But we'll see. Again, there's how much faith do I have in him as a leader versus the other guy? I mean, it's there. Do I think there's enough of a difference where it's going to make a difference in the long run? That remains to be seen. Again, I have cautious optimism. I don't want to be too negative on that company or anything.
Right. And, everything, no one's perfect. No company is perfect. And they're going to make mistakes. I mean, I think everyone just expected all of these differences right off the bat, and that's not going to happen. I would, of course, like to see their tag team division mean something a little bit more, but here we are almost a year later with there being zero influence from that other person, and their tag team division is still an afterthought almost, and it's
yeah, and a lot of companies have that problem. The other company has that problem too. I mean, at any given time, women's division and tag team division, at any given time, either one of those divisions in any company may or may not be doing well. You know what I mean? So
right. It's just sad because tag team wrestling is kind of my favorite. I like that over anything else, and I just want it to do well.
I'm a big tag team guy as well, so I agree with you. Yeah.
Our friend Shane is here. Oh, go ahead.
What's up, Sugar Shane? It could just be that it's just so much easier to push singles wrestling, and it's easy to get wrapped up in this guy versus this guy, this girl versus this girl, or whatever, and for the main event for the world championship. And as long as your world championship in your company, the tag team title is not the primary title and the women's title is not the primary title, then everything else will always fall behind the world championship. And sometimes that's okay, and sometimes that's not okay. So, yeah.
Yep. Well, they're making positive changes as well. I think the Viking Raiders are nowhere longer the Viking Raiders. I think they're the War Raiders. They're War Machine or War Raiders or something. They changed their name back anyway. So yay on them.
I mean,
At
hey,
least they're not the Viking Experience, right?
Yeah. Jeez, it still sounds like a ride at Carowinds, at Six Flags or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a theme park attraction. I don't get it. But
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, War Machine was a great name. And we enjoyed it when they were on the Indy circuit. And then suddenly they're no longer. And then everything just snowballed from there. I saw that they returned. So good for them and glad everybody's healthy. And
Right.
yeah, hopefully the name sticks this time and it's a good name. And, we'll see.
One more question. It just popped in my mind. We were talking about tag team division. They're about to, I'm guessing it's the Motor City Machine Guns is making their debut this coming Friday. With the way the tag team division is, do you expect them to maybe put a little bit of spark into that division and get more excitement out of it? They've been doing vignettes for them and all these other kinds of things. So hopefully that'll help some. And I'm excited for them too.
There's something that they like to say in that company, and I don't think you really hear it much in the other company. And Hunter's been on the record plenty of times saying this. When a guy goes down, it's time for the rest of the locker room to step up. Other guys got to prove themselves, and it's when a big star comes in, the rest of the guys in the locker room, it's time to prove. And I'm always thinking that's such nonsense. Like, you guys control the booking, you control,
Right.
you hand these guys lines to read. Don't tell me. Come on, there's a ceiling for everybody. So there's two reactions to the guns coming in. One is, it would cause all the rest of the tag team's locker room to feel the heat and say, "Oh my God, have you seen how good these guys are in person? They're so good. We got to step it up." But the other reaction to that is, it's the company that has to make the conscious decision to step it up. And to your point with the guns coming in, and they are fantastic, as you know. One of the best of all time, in my opinion. But they're going to have to work somebody.
Yeah.
So, the other teams, they're going to have to be fed tag teams to beat or to feud with or both. So, to answer your question, yes, I have high hopes that this will stimulate the tag team division because it would have to by necessity.
Right. Because otherwise it'll fall flat and no one will even care. And I hate that it's in the position to begin with, because if they were coming into a really hot tag team division, it would really set that place on fire. Be like, oh my goodness, I can't wait to see the Motor City Machine Guns against, whoever, their hottest tag team. And they really don't have one. Their tag team titles really are on people. It feels random. I mean, I know the Judgment Day is a real team and everything, but I don't know. They're not even utilizing those titles in anything, in any of their stuff. I mean, they might randomly put it on the line against Damian Priest and a partner or something, but other than that, they really don't do anything with them. I mean, they're just holding them for the sake of holding them.
Yeah, that's what happens when you throw tag team titles into a faction. Like, they're a team, but they're more of a faction.
I don't know which one is which, but I just call them the Tonga Loa Loa guys. Tonga Loa and oh gosh,
Tonga and Tonga Loa.
Yeah. So both tag titles are in factions being put in the back burner of major storylines. So
does Tama? So forgive me for not knowing this. Does Tama and Tonga have the titles on SmackDown?
They do.
Okay, yeah. I mean, they're fantastic. New Japan. They at any given time they were the best tag team in that company, and they're very, very good together. So, to me, that's not quite the same because they were a tag team long before they were part of a faction. So I kind of don't view that in the same vein. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Randy is saying that the Motor City Machine Guns should have went to AEW. I'm just happy they're somewhere making money, and they're going to be on my televisions.
Yeah, and look, let's say they're in AEW for WWE. Let's say they signed a 5-year. I don't know what they signed, but let's say after 2-3 years they're gone. If they still they'll have more mileage on them, but they're still in good shape and healthy and still want to go. AEW's a prospect then. So let them go get that WWE money and make as much as they can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Theory and Waller wouldn't be so bad if, I don't know.
I think they'll match up well against the Guns, actually. Theory and Waller.
Yeah, I mean, Theory and Waller are that good weasel heel tag team. I mean, you need those.
Yeah. Yeah, they serve a purpose.
All right, so are you ready for what we're actually here to talk about?
Ready when you
All
are.
right, we're going to talk about AEW WrestleDream. This happened on Saturday night. I did not watch the 0 hour. I don't know if you did. You probably did, because you're, you know, you watch it all and make sure you're prepared. Unlike me, half the time I'm not prepared, and I'm like, "What is this?" And then Timothy or Shane or somebody in the chat will tell me what's actually going on. I'm like, "Oh, okay, I didn't see that. My bad."
I mean, I watched 0 hour if for no other reason. I had to see MXM Collection, and I also had to see the Outrunners. So if I can see those two teams, I'm a happy man. So
okay,
yeah, Outrunners going to bring us all together. I'm telling you, world peace will be achieved thanks to the youngest man on earth. I'm telling you,
I like them. I like them a lot. They're a lot of fun to watch.
So good.
And I believe Brian Cage won the Ring of Honor Television Championship, right?
He did. The match was okay with Atlantis Jr. And I said on the main event last week that I felt like Cage maybe was underrated, and Chris Pat, shout out to Chris Patton, he came back with, don't know if he's underrated, but he's underutilized. And I said, I'll take that. That makes a lot of sense.
Right.
Because Cage is very, very competent big man in the ring. He really is.
He is.
And it was good to see that, good to see him get a win. So, yeah.
Yeah. He's a nice guy, and he works hard, and he wants to, he wants to do, he wants to be out there. He wants to wrestle. He wants to be on TV and do all these things. So I'm happy for him to finally get a little something. So
sure.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start with the main card. And we started with Hangman Adam Page versus Jay White. And at first I was like, this is, I've seen it kind of fold out with, Adam Page first kind of feuding with the other members of the Bang Bang Gang, whatever you want to call them, and with Juice, and it led up to Jay White finally making his return, coming back from injury. How long was he out? Like 6 months or something like that? 5-6 months.
It was long enough that I'd forgotten how the injury happened.
Yeah.
So
and this was a fun way to start the show. It got me excited. I loved every bit of this, and of course Jay White did win, which I was kind of surprised. On one hand, Adam Page has been kind of going on this chaotic frenzy lately where he just has absolutely lost his mind and is kind of just attacking everyone in sight, really. He's not happy with anybody. If you get in his way, you're going to be in trouble. And then, of course, Jay White just coming back from injury, you want him to look strong too. So it was kind of like, okay, AEW, here you go again, booking yourself into a corner. What do we do with this? But of course, I think this was the right way to go. Adam Page can kind of recover, I guess. I don't think this hurts him at all anyway, not as much as it would Jay White with his return. So I was excited to see this match.
Well, I can tell you we blew a lot of our match predictions last week on the main event because we both picked Hangman to go over here. So Jay went out in July. So around
okay, so he wasn't out as long as I thought.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the right guy won. And we talked before many times in the past about their locker room is full of such talented individuals and talented tag teams and female wrestlers. And, when you pair up, when every match is not a squash match, when every match is not, Orange Cassidy versus the local hometown hero, people have to lose. And that's just, there's going to be losers. And so, one guy had to lose this match and they chose for it to be Hangman, but I'm with you. I don't believe it hurts Page in the slightest. I think that guy is at all time high with his character work. And, and with him being the unhinged cowboy or whatever. But
the loss actually kind of helps his character because it'll make him even more unhinged and even more crazy, and he's just going to come back, come out there with even more chaos. So I think it's actually perfect.
Well, it's not the same thing, but when R-Truth was doing the paranoid gimmick, when it wasn't haha stuff, he was paranoid and thought everything was a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
I mean, when that guy loses, doesn't matter because every loss proves his case. See, I told you they were out to get me.
Well, and with Chelsea Green too, her character kind of doesn't work unless she loses all the time because she doesn't have anything to complain about. So
yeah.
If she wins all her matches, she can't file a complaint with Nick Aldis. So we need her to.
It's a double-edged sword. That gimmick can be entertaining, but at the same time, every time the fans look at you, oh, there's the loser. He never wins. Well, that's not a good thing to be known for, right? So, yeah.
Her Karen stuff is fun. Her Karen stuff is fun.
She's very good.
But yeah, AEW off to a great start here with Jay White and Adam Page.
Really
and
good
I don't
match.
know.
They both pair up very well together.
I do not know if I have these in the correct order that it happened. So if this is out of whack, it is what it is. Next up, I have the women's champion, the AEW Women's Championship. This was the only women's match on the card, was it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mariah May versus Willow Nightingale. I really like this match. I know Willow has been kind of, trying to get in there and defend whoever it was that Mariah May was beating down a couple weeks ago. I can't remember who it was, and they had a little thing going on. And also Willow has been kind of hanging out with Mariah's best friend. What's her name? Mina. What's her name?
Shirakawa.
Yeah, Mina Shirakawa. So, they're trying to keep that going. Mariah may have, once she won the title, I don't know if they had planned. It's kind of like they're in the same predicament that WWE had when Cody finally got his big moment, when Mariah May finally, defeated Toni Storm. And, after all of this, high storyline, this high emotional moment between these two, it's just, naturally after all of that, you're going to cool down a little bit. I mean, it's only natural. You can't stay on fire all the time. So, but it's she's still been a great champion, and she's still been doing good and everything. I don't want to take away that it's been bad. It's just been cooling down a little bit.
She has cooled down tremendously, but I just laid it at the feet of the booking. I just think the booking has not been that strong, honestly.
Yeah.
And, through no fault of Mariah May's own, I just think to your point, the feud was so good and Toni is so awesome that anyone following up Toni, it's like, it's the old story of trying to follow Jerry Lee Lewis on stage, right? Good luck.
Right.
Because you can't do it, and then that's what's happened. And Mariah's very good. And, I think the first couple of weeks after that win, it was fine. And then as time went on, it's like, yeah, I can kind of see they're not really doing much with her at this point. So, but having said that, her and Willow crushed it. Willow continues to be, you could argue that maybe she's the best, lady wrestler in that locker room. For my money, I think Statlander is top of the pops. I just love her. I think she's great. And, we'll see how all this plays out, because I believe that when Toni comes back, it's going to be Toni versus Mariah part 2. But I think more time needs to go in between.
Yes.
Before we get to, and look, if she comes back and beats Mariah in 3 weeks, does she take her win back? Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right way to go. I mean, something needs to happen for Mariah here to remind people, hey, I'm that good. And I didn't beat her. It was no fluke that I beat her. I fought my way up and we had this blood feud and I won. But,
right.
again, through no fault of her own, this is
Yeah.
how the cards have been dealt, unfortunately. So,
And this match right here was an easy, natural way to go, because outside of Toni Storm, I would say that Willow Nightingale is on the top of the babyface list. And I think she's more of a babyface than Toni Storm is, actually. She's just naturally that way, naturally bubbly. Kids love her to death, love Willow. So, obviously that's your top heel. That's who you would want them to face, as your very bubbly baby face and your diabolical heel. So
it's a good pairing. I wouldn't mind seeing them running this back again. I'd be okay with it.
Yeah.
So
And the way
I
it
firmly
ended,
believe
it looked like it could still continue. So
oh, sure, they'll let the door open. I believe we'll see Willow with don't know how soon we may see her with that title. But I think anything's possible at this point.
yeah. I think she'll get it eventually, but now is not the time. Now is not the time.
Yeah. All
right. Up next, we had the TNT Championship, and this had a lot of shenanigans at the end. We had Jack Perry versus Shibata. It was a decent match, but I guess everybody would, most of the attention was on how it ended. Jack Perry, of course, retained his title, and then Daniel Garcia comes out to confront him. And then, I think Jack Perry ran off at that point. And then here comes MJF back from filming some movies to beat down on Daniel Garcia. And then here comes Adam Cole. And this surprised me. Not that Adam Cole came back, but he comes back to face off with MJF, because it felt like that the last time he was there, when MJF kind of beat him down a little bit and ran him off, that was going to tie off their little story and it was going to be over. But apparently not, but it's flipped this time. Adam Cole is the babyface and MJF is the bad guy. And this is a lot of shenanigans and a lot of craziness. What did you think?
Well, first off, I don't want to get wrapped up in the heel and face thing, because it's part of my AEW new ideology on that company.
You just accept it.
I just roll with it, because I can no longer look at this company in the same vein as a traditional professional wrestling company, because that's not what they are. AEW, in my opinion, is not a pro wrestling company as much as they are a brand. And there's a locker room full of people who wrestle for a brand, and everyone brings their individuality, and there is no common overall narrative as there are in other companies. So as long as I understand, I was going to say people can understand and think what they want. I don't care. But for me internally, as long as I remind myself, this roster doesn't follow the narrative of AEW, the pro wrestling company. There is no unifying general theme that ties everyone together. There is nothing. So because there's no overall continuity, things can happen, feuds can start and stop, guys can cheat, then they cannot cheat. Weird, wacky stuff can happen, and it's kind of the Wild West. So with that understanding, I'm not going to get too wrapped up in the heel and face thing, but I'm with you in as much as, yeah, the tables have turned, very much so. Here's what I'll say about the match. Jack Perry once again delivers a good performance. He's very solid. I think that he's come miles where he was, and he was always good. But I think he's miles better than he was 5 years ago. And I think that Shibata's always on point, and Shibata can wrestle to your level and still make it a good match, because he's a pro. So I enjoyed the match itself. Especially for what it was. The shenanigans at the end, Daniel Garcia absolutely needs to pin MJF. My opinion. Don't think he will, but I think he needs to. But with Adam Cole coming back, you assume Cole and MJF are going to probably feud till, March or April of next year at this point. I mean, it could take forever, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Shane says that he saw the highlight of Adam Cole running towards the ring, and all I could think is, I hope he doesn't pull a hamstring.
I told you I was holding my breath, thinking, God, please don't let him fall.
No. At least they didn't have like how he hurt his ankle to begin with was they had that ramp that went straight to the ring and he tried to jump off of it and that's how he hurt himself that time. And the reason why he's been out for so long is because he was still on television and doing all this traveling and everything and that slowed his his recovery. So he was out longer than he should have been or could have been. And thankfully, they found a way to get him off of TV so he could stay home and heal up the rest of the way. So I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's back.
Yeah, I mean,
And
there's
I
something
know,
to be said for putting. Got to get that foot up. Got to watch that blood flow. You know what I mean? So
yep. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and just rest too. Just resting.
sure.
I don't think that people really understand how much just rest is medication. So
Oh yeah, I agree.
yeah. All right, next up, we got some more shenanigans on the way, Tom. You ready for
Mm-hmm.
it?
Mm-hmm. Give it to me.
The International Championship. This was my favorite match of the night. Ospreay versus Ricochet versus Takeshita. And I don't know. I'm not usually a flippy, fast paced. That's usually not my kind of wrestling. But Will Ospreay does it differently to me. He's still he's not doing things for the sake of doing them, and so he keeps it interesting and exciting and a lot of fun. And I loved every bit of this. And I was
We got to
very
work.
surprised. I was very surprised at the outcome.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to work on your flippy stuff. Because I hear those words, not by you necessarily, but I hear the flippy words being mentioned a lot. It's 2024. This is what we have. I mean, it's people can not like it all day long, but I mean, we've seen the same kind of stuff in WWE. It just, it's a lot of guys like to run that style. They run it for a few years till they can't run it anymore. And I think Ospreay has modified his game to the point of he can still dazzle you, but he's becoming that guy there's no wasted movement, to your point. Like, he's only going to do this flip if it speaks to the match, if it's because it's
Right.
building to the next move, not because he's trying to get a standing ovation. So, yeah.
And I want to clarify. I'm just saying that it's not for me. I'm not saying that that's the wrong kind of wrestling or
Sure.
they shouldn't be doing that. I mean, I've never taken a bump in my entire life. I'm not going to tell people how to work a match. I am the least qualified in the room in order to tell anybody that. It's my personal preference. That is all I was saying.
Sure, I get it. And look, there's some of the stuff I don't care too much for. I'm on the record as saying I hate the Lucha Pass. Lucha Pass is one of the worst things I've ever seen in the history of this sport. I just hate it. I could just grab you. No, you just go ahead. Just run. I'll catch you on the way back. Or I won't. That's so freaking dumb to me. I think that's worse than the Irish whip. I mentioned that on Main Event last week and sound like it was the 1940s all over again. But like, I'm just saying, like, it just, well, let me just go ahead and run past me. So no, I get what people complain about to a certain degree. It's like, all right, that's enough of that. But I'm with you. This match was fantastic. I liked that Takeshita won it because Will does. I felt like at one time Will needed that title. I don't feel like he does anymore. But I think Takeshita does need it. So I feel like the right guy won. I believe they hurried the Ricochet stuff. In my opinion, they hurried it when they didn't need to. There again, different mindset over here. So I'm coping. But the match was fantastic. It was everything that I thought it would be and more. And Takeshita brought a different element to it. And he's so freaking good. Takeshi's a future world champion in any company, in my opinion. So yeah. Awesome match.
Yeah. I was surprised, but it was a pleasant one. And you can ask Ray. I have been touting Kyle Fletcher turning on Will Ospreay since like June. I've been like, okay, maybe tonight will be the night that he turns on Will Ospreay. No. Maybe tonight will be the night he turns on Will Ospreay. No. So I have been like gotten to the point where it's been so long, I almost gave up on it. I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to happen. We're just going to move along with this. And that's okay. Whatever. And then they finally did it. They finally flipped that switch. And I was like, there it is. There we go. A lot of stuff happened in this match. And I was so excited for Takeshita because he's just been kind of there. So now that he has a title, I think maybe they can actually do something with him. I would be excited.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a good run, and I hope it lasts a while. And the Kyle Fletcher turn, and you could Ray proposed it on the show last week, but the stuff with that turn, when Mark Davis comes back, assuming he is, Aussie Open is no longer really a thing now. So like, is he going to come back upset? Is it going to be one of those like, hey man, you haven't called me. I haven't heard from you in 6 months. Like, you joined up with this Callis guy. You forgot who your friends are. And how could you turn on Will? He brought us into New Japan. What are you thinking? That kind of thing. So I don't know. Going to be curious to see how all that plays out.
Our girl is here and she says that she misses us. We miss you too. Come back soon. Shane, I disagree with this altogether. He says, look what happened to Sammy Guevara. I hate it, and I fear Darby is next. No. Darby is not next in the whatever they're doing with Sammy Guevara. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but Darby Allin is about to get shot into really out into the atmosphere with the stars. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Mm-hmm. Well, after that, everybody needed a breather, and I know people were complaining about this, but I thought that this was perfect, and it was perfectly placed because after that three-way match, anything that followed that, the crowd was going to be killed for it because they were going to be worn out after that. And so putting a talking segment right here and with someone that everyone is excited to see, I thought that was perfectly placed. Swerve comes out. Well, actually, we started off with Nana, and he introduced Swerve, and he did his bit, did the Swerve dance, and Swerve comes out, and Swerve grabs the microphone, thanks the crowd, and is like, Nana, I've been listening to everything that's been happening. Wait, then MVP comes out with Shelton Benjamin, and he gets into it. Yes, okay, you're right. I did lose all this stuff, but if it wasn't for Nana, I would have never even gotten it to begin with. And he's family, and I stick with family. So I know some people might have been a little upset that Bobby Lashley didn't come out here. It has been confirmed that he is signed, right? I'm not. And
supposedly he was in the building, and somebody really smart behind the curtain said, no, let's not do that tonight. And they absolutely should not have done it that night.
No, I don't think so either. It'll kind of let's build up to that. And with everything that happened after this too, I think it was smart to hold on to it because his debut would have gotten swallowed up by what happened in the main event. So
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this segment. And this is the fact that anyone complained, like everyone's entitled
about everything.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but everyone's also entitled to be wrong. And so if you didn't like this, there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry. This is the former world champion. And at this point, I personally am kind of over the idea of Swerve's another guy. He's former world champion. Let's put some respect on his name.
Swerve is not another guy.
Exactly. This guy earned that spot. He earned that title, in my opinion. And he lost to one of the greatest of all time. What better way to go out? Oh, he tapped. Yeah, he tapped the freaking Danielson. Dude, come on. I mean, it was his pleasure, I'm sure, to do that. And I looked at this as there's the most recent world heavyweight champion with his manager, and this is big time main event segment. I didn't look at this as they just shoehorned it in because I'm looking at it like I think Swerve versus Shelton's going to be amazing. I think Swerve versus Lashley is going to be amazing as well. I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yep. Shane, whoops. Shane says Shelton Benjamin versus Swerve will be great. Shelton doesn't get enough credit. He's great. Yeah, he is.
Shelton's awesome.
Yeah. Yep. Shelton Benjamin, to his credit, to what Shane was saying, does not get enough credit. I think it's because he's just not outwardly, not to say that he doesn't have any charisma, but he's not in your face. So people don't really think of him as often as they would somebody else, but I like him.
Well, the other company didn't do him any favors after the World's Greatest Tag Team came to an end and the stuff with Angle came to an end. I mean, bringing out this lady and calling him his mama. What are we doing?
Gosh.
And then dyeing his hair blonde, the gold standard. Come on. I mean, they mishandled him. They mishandled him 6 ways from Sunday. And the Hurt Business finally started to put things back on track until somebody said, I'm done. Let's yank it. And I'm like, of course you yank it. Why wouldn't you yank it?
For real.
So.
But yeah, I'm excited about all of this. Swerve and Shelton Benjamin and eventually Bobby Lashley, and just having that go on.
And MVP is so polished also, can we say?
Yeah.
Completely comfortable with that mic in his hand. Controlled the tempo. Anytime he talks, you believe what he's saying. He's got so much confidence. And they accomplished more in that segment. I don't want to put over too much because it's one night, but they accomplished more in that segment to make me want to see what happens next than I could have imagined. Shelton taking his jacket off and wanting to brawl. Like, that's enough for me. I want to see the match now. So,
let's go.
Yeah.
All right. Shane and Sarah are exchanging misuse in the. Yes, we definitely miss Sarah on the show. All right, I'm going to be honest and say that I didn't see about 95% of this match because I had people were going in and out of the house. I had a bathroom break and stuff during this. So I'm going to leave it to you, Tom, to talk about this match because I saw the beginning and I saw the end, and that was it.
Hologram versus Beast Mortos was a very good match, and it was best of 3 falls, and it was, and I've read folks talking about why is it on the card, why wasn't it on the pre-show, and I'm like, I don't want anyone. And look, if you don't remember WCW, it's fine, it's no problem. But like for anyone that does remember, please do not forget one of the many, many reasons that company fell was because they refused to push any younger talent. You got them in very small doses. They all had to work each other, and then you never saw them again. And when they would get on the card, it was the curtain jerk, if you're lucky.
Right.
I mean, this match is 4 matches away from the main event. That gets deep on the card. And could it have been on TV? I guess. Could it have been on Ring of Honor? Sure. But I'm glad it wasn't. I mean, this 16 minutes and some change, it was good. Both guys brought it. The Beast Mortos is an absolute effing freak of nature. And, we've said things like that about Samoa Joe and Vader and all these other guys. I know there's some big comparisons, but Mortos does stuff that I'm like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And why wouldn't you want a dude that looks like that on your main card?
So awesome. Look at him, right? I mean, pro wrestling at its best, as you know, is a variety show, a little something for everybody.
Yeah.
Theatricality definitely plays into the pro wrestling business. If it didn't, we wouldn't have pyro, and we wouldn't have big loud music, and we wouldn't have the video screens. I mean, the guy's mask, his gear, he looks great. Are you kidding me? I love the Beast Mortos.
Mm-hmm. Yep. She says, Sarah says, I hope Shelton finally gets his flowers. A ton of dream matches over there. Shelton versus Okada, I die. Oh my gosh.
Shelton versus anybody, but Shelton versus Okada. Oh my goodness. Yeah, for sure.
Shane is asking, do you think Keith Lee will join the Hurt Business? right now Keith Lee is going through a lot of health issues. I just want that dude to be healthy. I don't really, I mean, as because he's been through the ringer lately, and I just want him to be healthy. Period. Right now, I'm not even thinking about wrestling with him.
I agree. And Shane, I don't say this to come at you because I'm not trying to come at you, but there's some folks out there that have this notion, even in WWE. Well, he's a black guy. He's got to put him with the hurt business. Like at some point, you got to stop with that. Like, if Keith Lee, if MVP comes to Keith and says, "Hey, I know you're trying to come back. We'd love to blah blah blah." Let's see if what Tony says. I'm all good with that. But this idea of there's a white promoter saying, "Oh, he's a black guy. Let's put the black guy with the black guys." I don't know. That's just, I think that's way too on the nose. So Shane, I'm not coming at you.
To be fair,
yeah.
Keith Lee's character and the way he carries himself would actually fit in with the Hurt Business and how they carry themselves. So it would be different. It's not like them trying to put, I don't know, Private Party with them, because they're completely different characters. But Keith Lee has that that silent strength, kind of like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin has. So it would be a little bit different.
Well, and also to your point that you just made, is it too close to Lashley? Is it too close to, do you know what I mean? Like athletic, big man, strong and silent type.
Maybe.
I don't know. And, again, if MVP, because I don't know, I've never asked the guy, but if MVP today in his mind, his mindset of how, whatever they're going to call this, whatever this looks like to him mentally, we want to focus on African-American wrestlers. Fine. I just don't want it to come from Tony Khan. You know what I mean? I don't want, I never wanted it from the other guy. And I don't want it here. I want it to be, it's MVP's call. It's Lashley's call. It's their call. If that's so, then I'm fine with it.
No lie, Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley wouldn't be a bad tag team.
Yeah, but who would take the heat?
I was about to say, no one would lose. No one would win against them. Let's put it that way. They would win all the time. Yeah,
Shane, I see your comment. I respect what you're saying, and I wasn't trying to come at you.
No.
And plus, Keith is, no disrespect to Keith. Keith's older. I'm sure that, maybe he's a little slower. Don't want to speak for the guy. Don't know. But, if Keith were 25, sure,
Christine's here. Welcome, Christine. It's cold in Ohio. It's cooler here. It was only like 68 degrees today.
Yeah, it was chilly this morning. I turned the heat on in my house.
Next up was an open challenge from Darby, and Brody King answered that on Collision, I believe. And so we got Darby Allin versus Brody King. And I don't know. This is the yin and yang to me. I've always liked these two together ever since, I think a year and a half ago, Collision was in Greenville, and my dad and brother and I went. And on the card that night was Darby Allin versus Brody King. And Brody just ragdolled Darby all around that ring. I don't know. I have always thought that these two work together. At first, I thought it felt a little random, but later on in the night, it just kind of made it clear of why this happened now. Darby, they did a good job. The commentary team did a really good job of telling the story that Darby Allin has never pinned Brody King. The only way he has ever won a match against him was in a coffin match. He's never pinned. He never submitted Brody King. So they did a great job of telling that story, and it was there was a lot of physicality in this match, and Darby Allin got the win, as he should have. And we'll talk more about Darby. We'll be talking a lot about Darby Allin as the show goes on.
Great match. And when we previewed it last week on the main event, I was like, I didn't downplay it, but I did make the point of saying, I'm not sure why we're doing this. It felt like we just had to fill a match slot on the card. but then you see it and you're like, oh, this is why we did it, because they're great together. Because they, Darby can flat out work with anybody, and he can especially work with dudes much bigger than him because he'll feed for you. I mean, Darby on a feed for you all day. He's got to be everybody's favorite opponent. There's no reason why anybody would. Dude, it's like, I got to work Darby. Oh, no. You're like, oh, I can't wait to work Darby. He gives me everything.
Yeah.
And a guy that's that unselfish, you have no problem giving for that guy too. And Brody gave for him. And, the fact that Darby got that win and Brody gave him his props with a handshake from that guy, like on live TV or live pay-per-view, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and we'll get, like you said, we'll get to more of the Darby thing here in a bit. But yeah, I think we saw straps being put over his shoulders and the Rocket, perhaps the fuse is maybe going to be lit. But we'll see. We'll see. But I thoroughly enjoyed this. And every time Darby works anybody, but especially if he works Brody, we're all sitting there going, well, hopefully he doesn't get killed tonight. Is everybody watching?
Right.
So thankfully he didn't get killed.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Darby always looks like he's about to die when he's in there with Brody King. Yeah. I don't know. They're just perfect together.
They are.
In that. Sure. This was probably my least favorite match of the night. It was fine. I just didn't get into it as much as everything else that I saw anyway. We had a tag team titles match with the Young Bucks versus Private Party. This was very back and forth, a lot going on. It looked like Private Party was going to get the win over the Young Bucks, but no, those sneaky little boogers got the win over Private Party. What did you think of this? And did you think that this was the right decision?
I would have got away in it too if it wasn't for you meddling Bucks. I don't know. That was pretty bad. I love Private Party. On the record, I really put over their new theme song. I think the guy's name is Ty Lee. Their new theme song called Flex on 'Em. If you've not heard that song by itself on YouTube, everyone go out of your way to listen to it. When you see those two guys in that video, you're going to immediately think those guys are stars. They just look, and music, as you know, has a lot in way of your presentation, not just your video, but the sound, the way, what people remember. These guys are stars. This entire
Have they been using it for a little bit, or is it like brand new?
I can't say it's brand new. It's the first time I've really, because I think Isaiah uploaded it within the month, I think, to YouTube. But it's the narrative of this match was, as you know, they just can't, maybe this is their night. They couldn't put together since then, and they refused to call the Hardy Boys moves during the match, which is weird to me. Like, you could still say Matt's name. He didn't stab you in the back and leave with a title,
For real.
But that was weird to me. That felt odd. But the ongoing narrative of this whole match felt like, this is great, but this should have come after a series of near misses.
Yeah.
And then this match happens and Private Party wins the belts. It just felt like a very poorly timed concept of a.
Well, to what you just said was where they almost win and then they don't quite. Is this the beginning of that though?
I mean, I guess it could be, but you kind of already gave it away with everything you said.
That's true.
They were countering their best moves and catching them in mid-move where the Bucks couldn't hit the moves. And I'm like, they might actually go over. Of course they didn't. But all of that to me comes at the end, not the first shot since 5 years ago, a year ago, whatever the number is now since that match. I don't know. It just kind of feels like the timing was all wrong. And at the end, when they lost, I wasn't happy about it, but I also thought, yeah, I don't know if they maybe should have won either way, because the whole thing just felt mishandled for me. And Private Party absolutely need to be in the conversation for the next great tag team. And I believe they should take the belts from the Bucks.
Yes, now, absolutely.
And
I'll tell you what, we went to Dynamite back in the very end of July. And because it was in Greenville, and we took, there's some kids that live next door to my dad, and they have only watched WWE. They've never seen AEW before in their entire life. And we took them to the show with us because they like wrestling, right? And out of everybody, and I'm talking Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Okada, I'm talking about out of everybody, Swerve Strickland, they like Private Party the best.
That's cool. That's
out
cool.
of everybody, them. So, they're speaking to younger people than I think that we just don't really think about. And I was hoping that they would win here, but to what you said, it just kind of felt like it wasn't like they hurried up and did this, and then they don't follow up with it, and it just felt out of place and a little odd, and I don't know where we would move on.
Yeah, that's the problem is where do you pick it up from here, and how can you pick it up?
Mm-hmm.
But they're young enough. They look cool. They look hip. Their music's hip. They've got a hip presentation. I mean, any company, I don't care what 3 letters are in front of your company or whatever you call yourself in any country. If you get word that Private Party are free agents, brother, I'm getting their phone number, because you can build a division around these guys. And no disrespect to Matt and Jeff, this isn't a greatest hits tour where we're playing the best hits of our career. These 2 guys have yet to get to their prime, in my opinion. So now's the time you grab them and do something with them. But like I said, I hope they pull the trigger on them here. I do.
Shane is asking, do y'all think Private Party needs a full-time manager? Well, Stokely Holloway has been trying to recruit them into his to be their manager, and they've, pretty much refused. Do you see them actually being with Stokely at some point, or do you think Stokely is going to recruit a different tag team and maybe?
I think Hathaway taking a run at him made sense. I do not think they need him. And in my opinion, I don't put them with a manager at all. I don't think they need that.
No, because they can talk for themselves. They're not uncharismatic at all.
Yeah, they're fine. Yeah, they can get over without Matt or anybody else. And the Matt stuff worked for a good long time, and the Stokely stuff would have worked as well, but I don't think they need anybody.
I don't think the Young Bucks cheated. I don't remember.
I don't recall. It's possible. I wouldn't doubt it. They're heels.
I have a question for you. I mean, we'll get into more of Jon Moxley and his crew in just a little bit. But with Jon Moxley and them, the way they are, how do you see the Young Bucks and the Elite now? Because they're kind of waning, and they're kind of doing the same thing in different ways. We're trying to take over the show. It's ours.
Well, so again, back to Tom's proposed AEW ideology, which I will not get into. I will not do it. But part of that is in a normal setting with a normal, everyday pro wrestling traditional company, you can make the case of there's not enough room in this town for the 2 of us.
Yeah.
Right. And if you guys claim to be the baddest men in town, well, we're taking over, which means you're in our way. But that's probably not going to happen here because, again, not traditional pro wrestling. And the Bucks, in my opinion, don't seem to be changing their stripes anytime soon. Neither does Okada. So I don't know how much of this we're taking over stuff is going to lead to anything. I'm of the belief that something big is coming. I don't know what that big, I don't know if it's anybody. I don't know if it's the son of anybody or whatever. I don't know, but I feel like he's cut enough promos now where it's like, all right, fine, something's coming. Let's just do this. But to your point, would there be a day of reckoning between the Elite and whatever we're calling John's group? Sure. I just don't know if we'll see it because, again, nothing traditional has happened in that company as we speak. So
that's
who
true.
knows? Who
That's true.
knows?
You kind of have to throw everything you've been conditioned to expect out of pro wrestling and just throw it out of the window and just be like, you know what? Let's just roll with the punches and we'll just go with it.
Because anytime look, again, I can only speak for myself, but anytime I try to personally shoehorn in what I've known in all these years of being a fan into the constraints of that company through their eyes, it never freaking fits. It fit in the beginning. It has not fit since then. And it is what it is. They're just a different breed over there. It's a different product.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily bad. I mean, sometimes I question their decisions.
Sure.
But it's not all bad. It's not all bad.
No.
And
no, and I don't know that it can't work. Look, we've done traditional since the 1900s. Mm-hmm. We've done traditional pro wrestling. It's all we've ever known.
Yeah.
So what if there's a company in the Wild West out there doing their thing? That Wild West company got $500 million for 3 years. Hey, what do I know, right? They must be doing something right.
You know what I know? Wow.
I'm saying, you know. Yeah.
No, I don't think Private Party needs a manager.
Although, if you keep telling me that, I'm going to want to see it because I'm imagining Nana coming up with a different dance to come out with pride. Oh my God.
That might be fun.
That might be fun. Freaking Shane ruined it for me. Now I want to see it.
Of course, we would have said the same thing that Swerve didn't need a manager either, but him and Nana are just, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly.
Yes, absolutely.
Rhonda says that she does think that Private Party will win when they do win. The story is that they lost and that it'll be bigger as time goes by.
Fingers crossed.
And she thinks that the Elite is behind Moxley.
But the Elite already run the company, so why would John need to say we're taking over? I mean, they could just put him in power, right? And now he is in power.
Mm-hmm. But before we get there, we have one little pit stop first. The Ring of Honor World Championship with Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho. And yeah. It was good, actually. It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I have a love-hate relationship with Chris Jericho's learning tree. Sometimes it's really entertaining to me, and I'm like, okay, this is so bad. This is so bad. I'm enjoying it almost. But on the other hand, I'm like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. But
most people have a hate relationship with Chris Jericho's learning tree. Yeah. Well, the word of the day is satisfaction. Okay. Because I'm highly satisfied that Chris Jericho did not win this match.
Oh gosh, I was so worried too.
I predicted he would, and I said, well, why wouldn't he just win it? However, I don't know that it's over, and I would not be surprised if he ended up winning it anyway.
Yes, because Chris Jericho has a bad habit of wearing out his welcome in storylines. He continues them when they should have ended. Even when they've been good, like the Eddie Kingston, Chris Jericho stuff back in 2022, that should have ended at Revolution, and it just kept going on, and it kept getting worse. And he has a bad habit of doing that, of when it should be that's it, okay, Jericho, let's button this up. He'll keep going.
But see, that's tough for me because I don't know how much of that is him and how much of that is Tony.
Well, I'm not blaming Jericho for it. I'm just saying it's
his work his work is, look, again, I said it at the beginning, how can I miss you if you never go away? And he's not gone away. If he disappeared for a few months and came back, people would blow the roof off the place for him. But it's, he's the whole learning tree shtick is for me, it's tired. I love that it's giving Keith some great airtime. If this has helped anybody, it's Keith and Bill, because
I know.
Would we see Keith and Bill and Dynamite every week?
Probably
no.
not. No.
No.
That's true.
So And look, Bill was already in the minds of people. Keith was not. And now Keith is hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And he's become, and look, Keith's stock, I make it sound like they're going to let him go next week. Keith's stock has risen exponentially to the point of if he does leave, he's going to get booked because he's been on national television.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And plus he can work, of course. But again, I'm just glad that Jericho didn't win this. Mark, it has a forever job in my head. I don't know why in the world they would ever show him the door in AEW. I think he has a job as long as he wants to wrestle, and he should.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's, at any given time, he's the best babyface that company has.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think he will ever be heel again for the rest of his career. I think that's almost impossible now.
I think it's impossible because I think it'd be, who would he heel out on that you would cheer over him? Like
nobody. Nobody.
I just can't think of anybody. And I guess anything's possible if you wanted to show some texture to his character and add some layers to it. But, and I won't speak for Mark Briscoe, but it kind of feels like he's just having fun. And hey, boss, what you want me to do? All right, cool. I got you, because he just seems like that kind of guy.
Yeah. He has so much energy, and I don't know. It's like we're going along on every week. It seems like, okay, we're going along. I'm watching AEW, typical AEW, da-da-da-da-da. And then when Mark Briscoe comes on, he's like, well, let me tell you something, Chris Jericho. The word of the day is
great.
And I'm like, okay. And it gives me energy every time I see him. And I'm just so excited to see him every time. And I tell you what, I'm upset because every time I go to a live AEW show, Mark Briscoe loses. And I'm tired of that.
Well, hey.
Boo.
That spot they had in the ring with that learning tree stuff when Chris mentioned Jay's name, did you hear Mark's voice drop an octave? And he suddenly was no longer in character. I thought, oh my God, he's talking like a regular human. This is wild. Like, you could have gave me a few more minutes of that because, look, we're not spending all day on this, but, the idea that Chris would just say Jay's name is absolute lunacy. People have got to be sitting around banging their head against the wall if they're that dumb. I don't know. Of course, he would have talked to Mark first. Of course, nothing's going to happen without Mark's okay.
Right.
This is pro wrestling. This is what happens. It doesn't mean we all have to like it, but it got Jericho the heat. The right guy won in the end. Right. And plus, when he brought up his name again in that promo, everyone stopped talking. That crowd stopped chanting. They stopped cheering. They just went, oh, it just waited. And I'm like, I don't care about Jericho winning this, but man, you got the crowd, dude. You totally got them here. So they had completely bought into it at that point.
I mean, on one hand, with that, on one hand, I was like, I really wish that someone who actually knew Jay and had been in the ring with Jay and everything had been the first person to say his name like that. But on the other hand, it made you want Mark Briscoe even more to beat Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho, you didn't even know Jay Briscoe. How dare you? So there's like, it's a two-sided coin. And you're like, I was kind of fighting with myself a little bit on that. Yeah. But, it made me cheer for Mark Briscoe even more. So it did its job.
Didn't Roddy say something to that effect? That they'd always treated him like a little brother, but he felt like he was better than both of them and that Jay was better than Mark or something like that. I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. But no, I get what you mean. I mean, again, the right guy won. I hope we're one and done, and I hope Mark can just move to the next challenger.
Right.
But we'll see.
And I'm happy that Mark Briscoe won this match, and I'm happy that he's Ring of Honor World Champion, but I do have one little tiff, and this is not about Mark Briscoe. This is about the booking of Mark Briscoe, but the Ring of Honor World Champion needs to be on Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
They're never he's never on Ring of Honor. Eddie Kingston was never on Ring of Honor. Claudio was a little bit, but not much. And then, the person before him wasn't on it there either. So
yeah. And he's just so good and he can do so many things. And I think they need him on Dynamite. But to your point, if the RH World Champion is RH World Champion, he should be on ROH.
Well, he can do both. I mean, they film it on the same day, so
Yeah. It's interesting why they just don't do certain things. I don't get it. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Yeah.
They not the one where he won the title against Eddie, but the one before that. There was a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and Eddie Kingston was like talking smack to Tony Khan, saying, "Why am I not on the card?" And I was like, "Well, dude, maybe it's because you're never on the show."
No kidding. Yeah.
I was smack talking Eddie Kingston. Did you ever think that day would
Never.
come?
No. And
Oh.
yeah, I'd be interested to see what happens, by the way, when he comes back, because it
Can't
feels,
wait.
and again, we only know what we know from a distance and what
Mhm.
we may know from people who know things, but it always kind of feels like that Kingston is one of those guys that is so invaluable in their locker room, a guy
Mhm.
that other guys can come to for advice or to ask about a match or ask him, "Hey, watch my match tonight, would you?" And it kind of feels like he and Tony may have a good working relationship, which is good.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I think Eddie's a guy I would want in my locker room, even if he wasn't wrestling. I'd want him around.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So,
And if anything, just getting on camera and trash talking people.
no filter. No filter.
No filter at all. Okay, Eddie, don't say the F word, but
Right. Eddie's no fun if he doesn't say that for it. Are you kidding me? That's fun, Eddie Kingston. The F's for fun.
Of course, when I met him that day back in 2022, and I was, looking around, because we had been talking for 10 minutes, which doesn't seem like a long time, but in meet and greet time, that's a really long time.
It is.
And I was looking around and I was like, oh my goodness, I'm holding up the line. He goes, F that line. We're talking about something more important than wrestling.
That's wonderful. You got to get on board then, because that's worth it.
Yeah, it was. It was. All right. So it's time for the main event. The AEW World Championship was on the line between Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. And oh my goodness. I have so much to say and I have nowhere to begin. I don't know how to begin. I'm going to let you begin.
Are you sure?
Yes. Go.
All right, because I may destruct your arguments before you can make them, so be sure.
Okay, well, I'm going to say that I liked everything.
Yeah, good match.
Okay. I liked the match, and I'm going to say I liked the outcome.
Well, then I don't know what there is to complain about.
I think that AEW conditioned its fans to expect a happy ending. And when it didn't happen, they didn't know how to take it.
I agree with that. From what I understand, Danielson did not want a hero's exit. And it's his hometown, and he wanted to go out on his back. And anyone who's followed the business since the territory days or is familiar with it understands that when you leave on your shield. And when you retire, you go out on your back because you're doing the favor for the next guy. Because after you leave, they had to keep going. Sting didn't want to win, supposedly, and Khan insisted it was the right call.
It was the right call in that sense.
Yes.
This is a little different.
This is a little different. I don't think Danielson should have won this match. I think Danielson beating Mox instantly deflates Mox and takes away everything that he had going into this. Whatever that thing is of something big is happening and I got to beat people up and take that belt. And I'm like, why? You won't tell us. But whatever that thing is that may or may not be coming in the future, if you beat him at this show, it's over. There's no more reason to believe that he's even effective at that point. So he kind of had to win. That crowd supposedly were stunned, Didn't know what to do. Justin Roberts told everybody good night, thanks for coming, and supposedly he got booed for that, which is awesome. And they just left and didn't know what to do, and they carried Danielson out, and Danielson kept kayfabe the whole time. His choice, and I know a lot of people are upset about it. It didn't make a lot of sense to me in the moment, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, he wants to go out on his back. You know, this is what we thought Taker was going to do for Roman when he left his boots and duster in the ring, and then he came back. I'm back. I was just kidding. Hey, whatever, dude. Like, you know, you're either doing the favor or you're not doing the favor. And he absolutely put Mox over here. He absolutely said, I'm leaving this for my friend. I'm leaving this for this company. And when I come back and make an appearance on TV in March or April or whatever that looks like, I don't know, and blow the roof off the place, I'll address what happened. But not till then. So
Right. Yeah. And he has neck surgery that he needs to do. So what a way to write somebody off of TV was with this.
Sure.
And plus he's not going to be a full-time wrestler, but that doesn't mean he's not going to wrestle periodically. So he's not completely done riding in the sunset. He's just halfway there. He's in the middle of the wheat field right now. He's not all the way over the hill yet. So we have to remember that too. And when, you know, like you said, when he does come back, it's going to be insane, that reaction. And there was so much stuff that they did here that I just have questions about. Like when Moxley won the title, he didn't do the usual I just won the title thing where he holds it up and is flashing, hey, look at me, I'm the new champion. His little Pac and Claudio grabs the title, puts it in a black duffel bag, and runs out with it. He didn't celebrate in the ring. It's almost like it's not about him being champion. It's about him being in control. That's what it was about. Not, oh, look at me, I'm the champion and I just beat Bryan Danielson. It was, I took your dude out and now I'm in control, not him.
And I forget who said it on commentary. Shivani might have said, we got a bag. I guess they're going to put the belt in there. And I thought, why would you guess that? And then after it happened.
Why did he say that?
Because he knew. Because he already knew. And for whatever reason, he just brought it out. It just slipped, I guess. I don't know.
He should have said, why do they have that bag? What are they going to do with it?
Sure, because he tried to correct it after that and said, wait a minute, why would you put the belt in the back? I'm like, he just told us he was going to put the belt in the back. Your point is well taken. And also, did you catch Mox gave him the bow in the ring? He bowed to him in the ring in the corner.
Interesting. No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, he was on his knees and he's looking at Danielson in the corner and he bowed his head on the mat as you would do in Japan. Gave him a quick bow. So he gave him his props. But you're right. This notion of it, because he said it's not about you. It's never been about you.
Yeah.
Because supposedly again something's coming. It was more about getting that belt off of him than it was. God, man, I don't want to be the guy to keep harping on this. And for anybody that wants to see it, I'll just be feeding your conspiracy theories. God, this feels like Shane McMahon to me. I swear to God, it feels like this. I was
thinking the same thing. I was kind of waiting on him. I was like, is he going to come out now? No, it'd be too soon. But
yeah, it feels like Mox is like, you know, I can't let you be here. You can't stand what's coming because this guy will change everything. But having said that, look, Khan has prided himself and his company on being the anti-WWE. Yeah. And I'm telling you, man, if they were to bring in McMahon's son, that's a weird effing thing to do in 2024. I don't know.
But maybe that's the point. It'll be like not AEW versus WWE, but just kind of hinting at that, but not really. And it being like, okay, we are our own thing and we have to stand up against this force that is trying to invade our space because we pride ourselves in being different and they're trying to turn us into something that we are not.
Yeah.
And this is going to make Darby Allin a huge star.
Can we talk about Darby now? I'm ready for it.
Yes, I am so ready to talk about Darby Allin. Darby Allin is about to get shot in the atmosphere, and I can't wait.
Darby's your next top guy, in my opinion.
Yes.
I don't. And Darby has a Darby has a built-in reason for being the top guy, and it wouldn't have worked in year 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 for that matter. It would absolutely work now because talk about conditioning your audience. What have we been conditioned to believe about Darby? You can't kill this kid.
Yeah.
You can't kill this kid. It doesn't matter what you throw at him. It doesn't matter what he throws at himself. He can throw it. He threw himself down a flight of stairs at the stadium that year. He threw himself down the stairs. I mean, he's taken every form of abuse you can possibly imagine. He learned
getting back up.
Yes, he learned at the right hand of arguably the greatest of his generation with Sting. He's taken all that. He's absorbed it. He grew up with people telling him you'll never amount to anything. And AEW doesn't tell stories. I disagree. This story has been fantastic. And we've seen this guy from the ground up evolve before our very eyes. He wins that title now. Again, he's got a built-in reason to win it, to keep it, and to defend it. Right. He'll never be the biggest guy out there. He never needs to be the biggest guy out there. And that's the difference. That's the difference.
And they've done a really good job of making sure that everybody knows that Darby is Team AEW. Like he wants AEW to thrive, and he's not going to take somebody else coming in and trying to change it.
Yep.
And besides Wheeler Yuta, everybody on Team John Moxley has been in WWE. I'm right in that, right?
Yeah.
He's the only one.
He's the only one. And he showed instant regret for doing what he did to Danielson.
Yeah.
Which that's a story. I don't know what it'll be.
Brother Yuta, I knew it was going to happen. It was the only way it would make sense.
I'm telling you, it's all gone to crap. First the Fat Boys break up, now this.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, again, I don't want to rush it before it's time. And, before we get to the main event of whatever this thing is going to be, fine, we'll take our time. But the payoff, unless they just stop talking about it and they just go to business as usual with Mox with that title and nothing becomes of it, something big is going to happen. I feel like something big is on the way. I think it coincides with the TV deal. I think that when all that begins to materialize is when you'll see the chess pieces being moved into place. And again, I could be dead wrong, but I think something big is on the way.
Yep, me too. I'm going to be honest. When I first before the pay-per-view, I really wasn't all that excited about it because the only intriguing thing on the match to me on the card was this. And I was not excited to see anything else. I was like, but they have a good tendency of having a solid pay-per-view. So I was like, you know what? I've said this before. wasn't excited about the card, and it ended up being a great show. I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing on pay-per-views. And I was right. So
yeah, on paper, this card didn't look like much, but yeah, 9 times out of 10, they really do bring it on pay-per-view. There's been very, very few shows that I didn't walk away from going, man, that was a good show. That was so good. Some have been stronger than others.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, this wasn't the best pay-per-view they've ever put on, in my opinion, but it definitely has done more story-wise that I've seen AEW do in a long time.
Yeah, and it's with every show needs to move us forward.
Right.
And I'm not going to stray from what I said about there's not an overall unifying narrative in that company because I don't believe there is one. But so what we're left with is did we move anything forward in terms of character development, in terms of an angle?
Oh gosh, we jumped over ponds almost. As far as moving forwards.
There again, that's me trying to shoehorn in this into traditional pro wrestling, which it is not. It's a bad habit. I've been doing this for 5 years. I got to train myself not to do it now.
Yeah,
it'll be tough.
Well, that was AEW WrestleDream. It was quite a show, and I'm excited for Wednesday to see what happens next.
Yeah, I again, it's like, you had your big event. Now, how are you going to follow it up? The key is always the follow up. Why did things happen? Did they happen for a reason? Are they leading to something else? We'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Team Moxley versus Team AEW. It's coming.
And we need some. This company is heel heavy, and their top baby face today, right now, I guess it's Darby.
Yeah.
Their number 2 top baby face, I guess it's Mark.
Yeah.
I don't even know who number 3 is. Orange.
Yeah.
I mean,
probably.
but look, Ospreay. Once you get out of the top 5, it starts to get very thin. I cannot, and I will not call Swerve a top face. He is not a top face.
Swerve is Swerve. He's not anything.
He's not anything, and I hate it. I hate it, but again, I'm dealing with it. It is what it is, you know.
Swerve is one of those people that can get by with it, though, so I'm not too upset about it.
He can get by with it in that company. But you could always argue he can't. And again, I said I was dealing with it. I am, but it's no secret they've lost viewers. They have lost viewers.
Yes.
And did those people go run to WWE? I don't know that they did, but maybe they quit watching altogether. Maybe that's what's happened. Because you know for yourself, they picked up a lot of folks who never watched WWE when WCW shut down. Are those folks still around? I don't know. It's a good question.
I don't know. But I don't want to say they need to keep doing what they're doing, because there's something that needs to change with them. I don't know what it is really. Because like I said, I'm not in the wrestling business. I've never been in the wrestling business, but I just hope that things can only go up from here for them.
Yeah. And as we've always said, we want every wrestling company to be successful, especially this one.
Absolutely.
If AEW in 5 years were to fail, that's not a good ending to this story. This company needs to outlive all of us. And I know that sounds like a grand thing to say, but look, I'm not old enough to remember this because I'm not that old. All right. But when WWF first left NWA, people wrote that company off. They talk about arena. They couldn't do anything. Vince McMahon Sr. was told, you're crazy for leaving. And look, for a long time, everybody was right. It wasn't until the 80s that things started to turn around. But for a long time, they couldn't get anything done. Like NWA was a powerhouse. Yeah. So, people counted that company out and said, well, no, you can't, this stuff won't work. This is not going to work. This Hollywood rock and roll wrestling stuff, it's a gimmick. It's not going to work. And look what happened. So as much as I have heartburn over stuff that AEW does, it does not mean I'm right about everything. So it's working for somebody.
Shane, that is a good question. But if I were to pull that up and we would talk about it, Tom and I would be here for another hour, and I desperately need to get off. So I'm just going to go ahead and end the show. Tom, thank you so much for coming on, and it was a lot of fun as always.
Thanks for having me on. BoinkStudios.com, kids. BOINK, BoinkStudios.com. All my links are there. Please go visit and bookmark, and thank you.
All right, and make sure you like, share, subscribe to Peaches and Power Bombs. And I will see you tomorrow. Ray All Day and I will be previewing Dynamite, so make sure you check that out as well. See y'all later. Bye. Good night, sweet peach. It's time to go. Good night, sweet peach. It's the end of the show. We hate to leave, but we really can't stay. So good night, sweet peach.